Hey, what up, my peeps? It's your boy Hotrod coming at you. And today, I'm gonna ask a robot to explain the new Crimes of Grindelwald movie to me. I saw it and I didn't understand it all. It was kind of complicated and a little bit confusing. So maybe Robot can explain it to me, because I'm kind of a dumbass. I don't know stuff. I can't connect things together. Autofocus. No. Okay, there goes. Hey! Dumbasses. Shit for brains. This video's made for people who like my videos, and robots, and Harry Potter. And, yeah. Come back. So, I gotta remember my voices here. So, Robot. I saw Harry Potter a couple times, and then I saw the first Fantastic Beasts, and then I saw the second one, but I didn't really get it. It moved by really quickly, and a lot of stuff happened, and I'm not really sure what happened. So could you help explain it? Alright, so spoilers. There will be lots of spoilers. I'm going to try to do this in 30 minutes or less. It's already at 20, I've got like 4 minutes, or 24 minutes to go. So, 26 minutes left. 27. If I can do it, maybe one or two parts. Yeah, a lot of spoilers. And some of my own theories, and try to answer some of the questions that have been popped up, and they're like, oh, that doesn't make sense, and something, and because of this and this. Okay. So, some of the background that you need to know, and this is kind of shitty, because you need to know some stuff before going into the movie, because this is like a Harry Potter movie, and if you don't know the stuff, then it's kind of like, what? Who is he? Where? Why are they doing that? What happened? And that's the problem you have with these kind of movies. So, things we need to know. Things we learned from Harry Potter is that Dumbledore is maybe the most powerful wizard, and when Dumbledore was a boy, he fell in love with this other boy from another school named Grindelwald. That's what the movie's Johnny Depp's character. And Dumbledore had a brother, Albus, and he had a sister, Ariana. And when Ariana was a little kid, her magic was like, exploding. She couldn't control it. Some kids from the neighborhood saw, some Muggle kids saw her doing some magic, and they're like, "Hey, do the magic again!" And she couldn't do it, so they picked on her. So I bullied her, and then her father killed Dumbledore's father killed those kids that bullied and Ariana, the daughter, his daughter, and Albus and Albaforth's sister. So she suppressed the magic, and she didn't want to show the magic anymore. She was suppressing it, kind of like an Obscurus, but they didn't say officially, and it's an Obscurus. And So she was sick. And then one day, Ariana power exploded and killed her mother. And then, so Ariana is sick, and mother's dead, and the father's in Azkaban for killing the Muggles. So it's just Albus and Aberforth together, and with Ariana. And Albus, he's like, "Oh, I'm super smart and super smart. I want to go find some Horcruxes, the Deathly Hallows, with Grindelwald, the guy that's super cool, and I love him." So they ended up. Aberforth was like, "No, you can't leave. You have to stay here and take care of, help take care of Ariana." And Albus was like, fuck. And then Grindelwald was like, "No, come on, let's go." And so they got in a fight. And Ariana died, got killed. And they're not really sure. It was like a 3-way battle or something. Or maybe 4-way with Ariana exploding or something. I'm not really sure what. They haven't explained what happened. And so Ariana's dead. Aberforth never kind of forgives Albus, because his sister's dead. And so that's the burden that Albus has had. And he in Grindelwald and Albus kind of went their ways, separate ways, and then later, after Grindelwald does all these bad stuff, which is this is the story of all the bad stuff that Grindelwald does. Later, around 1945, Albus finally defeats Grindelwald and gets possession of the Elder Wand. So I don't know how he did it, but he beat the most powerful wand. And so that's what we know. And for a long time, Albus couldn't fight Grindelwald until like 1945. So this movie is set in like 1927, and yeah, so they're grown up, but they can't fight each other. So it's still like a good 17 years before they actually fight. All right, and we know that this movie takes place 6 months after the end of the first movie. So at the end of the first movie, Credence gets blasted. Credence transforms into an Obscurus, to like the smoke monster from Lost. And then he gets blasted a lot with a bunch of ores. And but a little wisp of him escapes, and so he's like, "Oh, I'll be back." Ha 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 ha. And Jacob, the baker guy, the Muggle sidekick, the American, he gets his bad memories erased with the magic potion and the Thunderbird when they erase all the memories in New York. And but at the end of the first movie, he starts remembering stuff. Like, hey, he made a bunch of the magical beasts. So I was like, hey, maybe he didn't forget. And Tina stays in America. She becomes an Auror again after catching Grindelwald and stuff. And Newt goes back and publishes his book, and then and Grindelwald is sent to prison. He's captured. They captured Grindelwald. So 6 months after that, they explain in the very first scene, it's like, oh, it's been 6 months, and then, so like I'm assuming things happen the way things happen in Muggle world. So, okay, here's the question. First question. Why? It looks like Grindelwald was already out of jail. He swapped bodies with Abernathy. Why did he have to go back and save Abernathy? I mean, I guess he was like, "Oh, you're such a loyal follower. I'm going to save you." Well, that seems kind of weird. Yeah. So I'm assuming that they did everything the way they do in the Muggle world, where once a person is taken to jail, they take all their possessions and they put them in storage. So they were moving Grindelwald, they thought. So they had to take along all of his possessions. And spoilers, if you already seen it, well, then you already know. But one of the possessions of Grindelwald was the vial that contained the blood pact. And we don't find this out until the end of the well, kind of midway, and at the end of the story, where it's like, oh, it wasn't. It was some reason why Dumbledore couldn't fight Grindelwald for like 17 years or all these years. It's because of this vial. And the warden had this vial with him when they were transporting who he thought was Grindelwald. So Grindelwald was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get that thing." So he breaks into the carriage and grabs the, he takes out everyone and then grabs the vial, the blood pact from the warden. So he's like, "Yeah, I got the thing, yay!" So that's why he, at least this is why I think he went back and saved or released Abernathy from being taken to the other jail. But yeah, so he wanted that vial. And I made a list of the scenes right there, so we can talk about that. Kanpai. If you read the new Bumblebee movie, like swinging 70s disco detective prequel to the movie, one of the detectives has this thing. Pretty cool. I made this. It's like a little Autobot ring. It fits. But back to Harry Potter. So next, they go over to. They've got Newt Scamander at the Ministry of Magic in England, in London, trying to get his travel ban lifted because he caused so much trouble in New York. And it's like, no, you can't travel overseas. It's like, yeah, but I need to. And the Ministry was like, well, we'll lift the travel ban if you join us and you help hunt down Credence. And he's like, no, I don't want to do that. And then they introduced a bounty hunter. I forgot his name, but it's like, okay, go find. It's like, oh, I'll go find Obscurus. And next scene. Oh, also in the Ministry, you see Lita Lestrange and Newt's brother Theseus, and he's going to. He tells Newt, "Oh, come on, Newt, you join us, and you can." And Newt's like, "No." And Theseus warns Newt, like, "Oh, they're watching you." So you know, be safe. So next we got Grindelwald making his headquarters, and they kill a family, and then it was like, oh, okay, this is our headquarters now. And then Newt is leaving the ministry, and he's like, oh, but he knows that he's being followed, so he tries to run away, and he manages to lose his tail. And Dumbledore's like, hey, come on over here. So he meets up with Dumbledore and talks to him. And Dumbledore says, like, oh, he has some information about the Obscurus, that it grows without love or something, and there are so many things that he said, like the Dark Twin, and anyway, he has a conversation with Newt, and then he tells Newt, like, hey, if in my family a phoenix would Newt was like, hey man, you got me in trouble. You told me where to find that Thunderbird and where to send them and stuff like that, and you knew I was gonna go over to America, and you just kind of set me off. And Dumbledore's like, no, I didn't do that. And Dumbledore's like, I love birds. In my family, there's a story that a phoenix will come to a Dumbledore in need, and my grandfather had one and stuff. It's like, okay. So he's setting up that story. And, but one of my questions is like, when Dumbledore was all depressed and stuff after his sister died and all that stuff, and his brother and the whole family was all like, oh shit, we're all bummed out. His father was in jail, his mother died. Where was the Phoenix then? Huh? Shouldn't there a Phoenix that could have come? That seems pretty low. If that's the lowest point, when Dumbledore is drinking that death potion from Voldemort, he's like, no, that's so terrible. I hate this thing. If that's the worst part of his life, there was no Phoenix. I don't know how much more need you need than that need. So that's a lot of need. But anyway, that was kind of, yeah, okay. And so Newt goes home after that, and he has an assistant in his home. He's got a zoo, and his assistant helps take care of the animals, and like the baby nifflers get loose, and she's like, oh, why don't you take off your shirt and go to take care of the animals? I'm all hot and bothered. And she has like a orgasm getting splashed on, and anyway, so that was kind of like a throwaway character. It's like, oh, we never see her again unless we do in the next movie or something, and she has some good bit, because that was kind of a waste. Then at his home, he hears a noise, and Queenie and Jacob pop up, and, go through his window. It's like, hey, we're here in London. And Newt's like, where's Tina and stuff like that. It's like, no, Tina and I are fighting because I'm dating Jacob, and but Jacob's under a love spell, so he's not really in control of his faculties there. So Newt's like, well, just let him, release him from the spell and see if he's okay with everything. Queenie's like, oh, we're gonna get married here in England because they're more progressive and stuff like that. So she wants to get married, but Jacob's like, you can't throw away your life and go to jail. Come come by. So they have a fight, and Jacob thinks, but doesn't say that. Oh, what are you, crazy? And she gets all like, "What? I'm not crazy," but she kind of is crazy. And she runs away. So they separate, and Queenie says, "I'm gonna go to my sister's." And so Jacob knows that she's gonna go to find Tina. And back at the house, Jacob and Queenie, leave the house, and then Jacob goes back, and Newt finds this postcard from Tina that says she's in Paris. So they're like, "Oh, okay, so Tina's in Paris, so Queenie's going to go to Paris, but Newt can't leave because he's banned from traveling, so it's kind of fucked." Then we switch over to Tina. It's like, oh, Tina's in Paris. Okay, so now Tina's in Paris, and she goes into the Paris version of Diagon Alley. So there's, like in London, they have the bricks that move, but in Paris you go up under some statue's skirt, and then it's like, oh, okay. So in this Paris Diagon Alley, there's a circus, and we find out that Credence is in the circus and with Nagini. Oh, so yay! And they're like, "Well, how the fuck did that happen? Where did Credence get? Credence is back? What?" So I'm thinking it's been 6 months. So from the time that Credence, wisp evaporated, and I haven't read the books. I'm just, figuring out something along this line. The guy who plays the ringmaster is named Olafsson, and the actor Olafsson or something like that. And he's an American actor, but he kind of sounds like a Canadian kind of guy. And so maybe something like Credence drifted away and then ran away with the circus, and then the circus went to France and was traveling around. It's like, okay, we're in France now, and so they were doing their France stuff. And Credence is looking for his family. It's like, oh, who the fuck is my family? I don't know. And so then in the circus he meets up with Nagini. Nagini is, according to what the ringmaster says, like from the deepest, darkest parts of Indonesia. We find the Maledictus. And she's played by a Korean lady, not an Indonesian lady. And maybe there's some magical Indonesian magicisms that I don't know, but they specifically said Indonesian, so I was like, okay, well, you're not really that, but okay. And or maybe it's just a lie about where her origins come from. But anyway, so they're like, all right, we're gonna escape the zoo. And Credence is like, all right, I think I have a beat on where to go. So let's go, and we escape tonight. So they cause some disturbance and diversions and stuff like that. And like, oh, and then they escape. And at that circus, Tina is there, and we're introduced to the new character, Yousef Kama. And this Yousef Kama is some kind of last descendant of a magical family, and it's like, oh, I'm Yousef Kama. And so yeah, they're trying. Yousef is on a mission to kill Credence. That's like, oh, I'm gonna kill Credence, and Tina's over there to capture him, to make sure or show that he's not dangerous, and because she helped him and stuff like that. It's like, well, and Yousef is like, well, if we can show that this kid, the identity of this kid is like he's a wizard or something like that, will the ministries of America and Europe and stuff like that just leave him alone? And Tito's like, oh, maybe, you know, if he had some proof that who he is and what he can do and stuff. So, yeah, the circus leaves town. They're like, oh, we're out of here. And because there's a big dragon, and it escapes, and maybe some of the other creatures escape. And Yousef is like, okay, well, follow me. I'll show you some proof that who he is, or something like that. And spoilers, he ends up so many spoilers. He ends up capturing Tina. It's like, oh, I'll let you free after I kill Credence. All right, I've got 2 minutes. Oh man, I'm not even the third way through. All right, so then let's go back. So next scene, we're going back to Grindelwald's headquarters, and he's using the skull to show the future. So he's smoking it and using it, and like blows up this big bunch of smoke. It's like, oh, no, it shows a Credence. Oh, this is Credence. He's important. We need to capture him because he is the only entity that can stop Dumbledore. And there's a guy in there played by a Dutch Japanese actor. His name is Kroll, and Grindelwald is talking to that man. He's like, well, if I asked you to go and kill Dumbledore, would you do that? And there's a guy like, the great Dumbledore? Like, oh shit, I can't do that. So, yeah, and so Grindelwald's like, yeah, so we need Credence because he can control the Obscurus, and then that entity could probably kill Dumbledore. And because Dumbledore's super powerful. So that's their plan, to try to find Credence. And from another theory of mine is that Kroll character was a plant from, like Severus Snape was a plant, a double agent in Voldemort's army. Kroll was a double agent for another organization, which we'll talk about in part 2 of this. I want to talk about Harry Potter stuff, Magical Beasts. So, alright, come back for part 2, and we'll talk about how things kind of roll together. And what is the skull, and who, what is all that stuff, and what. So, anyway, part 2, I'll just like jump into it. Bam. Goodbye. Bye-bye.